Hello, welcome back to Diary of a Creator. I am Victoria, the Soul Led Career Coach, and this is a space for ambitious, freedom seeking souls like me who refuse to settle for the ordinary. If you're feeling stuck in a life or career that no longer fits, and you're starting to question your path, and you're craving something more alignment, more freedom, more joy, then you are in the right place. And if my content resonates with you, I would love it if you could like, share, subscribe. It just helps me to reach more souls who need to hear this message. Okay, so I have a very short break between construction going on all around me, so I'm hoping that this kind of sticks. But today I wanted to chat into really a trend that is happening from all angles, which is about side hustles and the gig economy and stepping into more of this freedom-based way of working and living. Starting a side hustle is becoming a trend, and everyone's wanting to start a side hustle to create freedom. But the thing I want to touch on today is it actually going to create freedom? And that all really depends on where your motivation is and how you're actually really coming at this. Because the warning is if you start a side hustle without an awareness of the why, you very likely are going to create the opposite of freedom and could end up feeling more trapped. I want to call some things out here because the messaging generally is that this is an easy thing to do. It's easier than ever to start your online business, to create a side hustle. And there's a truth to that. It's never been easier. Absolutely. Like, we are in the gig economy. We are in people starting their businesses left, right, and center. Everyone's doing or wanting to do side hustles. So it is easier in the sense that there is a market for it. And this is generally speaking how the workforce is going to move. And this is obviously a COVID thing that has transpired after that is people are wanting more freedom. They're wanting that balance and that lifestyle, and to work and live wherever they want is one of the key drivers, and obviously was a driver for me, which is why I've made it happen. But it wasn't my only driver. And so this is where I'm going to dig into as well. So yes, there is more opportunity. However, it's not easy to create a side hustle, particularly if it has almost nothing to do with what you have been working your life to be qualified in. And by that, I mean you don't have some form of ease. Say if it's freelancing and you step into doing a really similar thing to what you were doing in a corporate career, but to create more freedom and flexibility. That will be slightly easier, not necessarily as quick and easy as you think. I have 13 plus years of experience in my corporate career and freelancing, and that even took some time for me to build as well. It's been anything but easy to create both a side hustle freelance business for myself and also my purpose led business. The purpose led business is harder because I'm going on a completely different journey for that. It is my heart and soul, and naturally a harder journey because you are coming up against yourself, your shadows. It's a personal development journey. You're putting yourself out there. There's all these different things. But depending on where you are, my experience, my friends' experience, clients' experience, people I've met on the journey is it is not easy. It is so a side hustle, it is a commitment. It is mentally a commitment, energetically a commitment, physically in time, it is a commitment. And before jumping in or trying to almost move too far, building something that eventually is going to turn out to feel exactly like what you were trying to get away from, I would invite you to pause and think about where you want to anchor that, because this is your time, this is your energy. It could likely take money at the beginning, whatever it requires, and however far you want to go with it. But it will eventually become easy. If you go back to your early days of your career or trying to find a job as a graduate, was that easy? No, because you're learning, you're growing, you're having to face yourself in ways that you've never faced yourself before. You're having to step into situations that you've never stepped into before. Your shadows are going to come up, and you give more time to learn and develop the skills that you may be sitting in now and being like, these are easy, but they didn't start that way. You had to put effort and energy in. So a side hustle, as light and easy as it sounds, requires dedication, even if it is on the side, because what most people will be trying to do is side hustle it to build it up to be something that eventually gives the freedom. So there's a commitment. So don't jump into it without considering where you actually want to go with it and what needs this side hustle is actually going to fulfill. Because if your goal is just to create freedom or to escape what you might perceive as feeling trapping, so a 9 to 5, having to work in a physical place, it's not going to feel like freedom for quite some time. And it might not ever feel like freedom depending on how you're coming at it and what your key motivations are, which is what we're going to go into. Because side hustles, depending how you anchor them, they will eventually create that, but initially not at all. In fact, it's actually going to probably feel like the opposite. And if you're not careful, which is what happened to me, it could quite likely push you into burnout and almost feeling more trapped than you are trying to get away from it. And so when I was building my soul-led business, I was still full-time in a vice president role in corporate. So it all began as a side hustle. And I never had the intention it would stay a side hustle. It was always going to be my path. It is my mission. That is what I wanted to step into. But we all need to start as a side hustle. Please don't fall for the message that you should just jump out, because you will have a very heavy nervous system response to that unless you've got a lot of money and a lot of savings and a lot of kind of safety net. Then I would never advise to do this, because I even jumped a little bit too early. When you go into a nervous system freeze around survival, you're going to be stuck in that and not be able to create. A lot of people want the side hustle to get out of survival. But if you create from a place of escaping something, you're just going to create more of it. Be really, really careful with that. So this period of life for me was anything but free. I gave up my social life. I was working full time. In my spare time, I was studying, practicing, learning how to build the business, doing all of these things. But I cannot even envision being able to do that and show up in those ways if it wasn't fueled by something deeper than just wanting to break free of corporate. In order to keep the energy towards something which is naturally going to challenge you, because you are creating something new, if it's not fueled by purpose, a deeper meaning, and a deeper kind of mission, for me personally, there's absolutely no way I would have kept going. The surface level drivers will never keep me going for very long. So I can't ever be fueled by money for very long. Equally with a freedom-based life, I've met a lot of people in Bali that are living the freedom-based lifestyle, but they're all seeking deeper meaning. Why is what ultimately kept my energy going when shit got tough. It keeps my energy going when shit gets tough, because it will get tough, because building anything is not easy. Please do not fall for this instant overnight success stuff. It's just not the truth. And so this is really, really key to work out as well, and to understand what your core needs are. What kind of balance you need to maintain? What are you willing to give up in order to create this? Because you will have to give something up. If you think of the time of your day and adding it on, where's that time going to come from? These are just the things that you really need to sit with, because the question is, what is the motivation behind it? Is this even the avenue for you to do it? Because in hindsight, a lot of my initial efforts, my end goal was always the same. It has always been about pursuing a mission-based path, a soul-led path, but I wanted to do it quickly. The want to do it quickly is only ever fueled by wanting to escape what you're currently in. I wanted to be free of corporate. I didn't want to be trapped anymore. But that urgency and push is ultimately what made me pull back from the business for quite some time. All that's ever going to do is throw you into just too much. It's too much. It's overwhelm, it's burnout. Because anything takes time to build, and freedom itself takes time to build. You will not start a side hustle and immediately be free. You will actually be the opposite of free. You're going to have to go through some hard knocks and fall down, come back. It's a slow process. Anyone that's been successful, they talk about it now, thank God, where they're like, you've just seen the end of this success, but I've been going at this for 7 years. I've been going at this for a decade. This is the reality of what it takes to build stuff. Maybe not decades, because as we are in an easier period to do this, but it's not an overnight success, and you will not create a side hustle and immediately have money and freedom. because freedom's actually mostly about the inner work. I had created the nomad lifestyle that I had craved, building the business at the same time. I felt chained in so many ways because I was trying to work that business the way I worked corporate. Different lens, same flavor, felt the same. Why would we go and do that? It doesn't make sense. You can learn from mistakes that I've made where it doesn't matter whatever you create, if you don't have the mindset to receive what it is, it's still going to feel exactly like what you had before. And then you've got to question, why do you do it in the first place? If whether or not your side hustle, business, however, wherever you want to take it, turns into an avenue that provides you freedom, it all depends on the deeper motivation behind it and differs based on where your focus is. One, you are either focused on trying to get away from something you don't like and rushing into something that you perceive is a grass is always greener. I had the deeper meaning, but the way I tackled coming into this path was from this lens of, I just need to get out. I just can't tolerate it anymore. I need to get out. There was a rush, there's a force. And funnily, that force and that rush, I kind of landed flat on my face with that because it needed a bit more time to be birthed. Some of the motivations that are really popping up for people at the moment, and dare I say, they've probably been popping up for a very long time, is lack of fulfillment with where you are, not dealing with the work culture, the toxicity of the workplace. That one was the biggest one for me. Feeling trapped. So trapped in many ways, like having to show up 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, having to show up in a physical location, all of these different things, what we consider traps. Another key driver at the moment, and just be really cautious of this, and I know it's hard, but the cost of living and wanting to add more money in. These are all motivations born out of an energy of escape. When we get anything from this energy, you're just going to create that energy. As my example, I wanted to get out of corporate, blended with my purpose, but the way I tackled it at the beginning was, I need to get out. Why? Because I felt trapped. I wanted freedom. I wanted to get out. So that put me into a push energy, which if it's like a cost of living money thing, that will also push. What did I create? I actually felt more trapped, more stressed. I got to this point where my hair was falling out because that's how stressed I was. Then I took a pause. I was like, hang on a second. You've just spent all of this energy trying to create something, but you've gone and created what you're trying to get away from. This is where side hustles, businesses, passion projects, and ideas are just going to fall flat on their face because of this, because it's just going to feel exactly like what you are trying to run away from. Best not to create things from that energy. The second way is to focus on creating what you truly love. Irregardless of where your current life is, irregardless of if you're poor as fuck or you're rich or you're burnt out or you're in a career you love, you don't love, irregardless of your life circumstances, you're focused on creating something that you love, something that is meaningful, something that is a passion for you, something that feels truly innately soul-led. This path is about fulfillment. It is about ultimately what is going to bring an inner sense of freedom because you are following your own heart. So in essence, this kind of energy is what most people are really, really craving because, as I said at the beginning, you can create the freedom-based lifestyle, but through the nature of being a human, our highest seeking nature is to find meaning and purpose and fulfillment within our life. So you may as well try and find both at the same time. This is really what I've geared into. I can't say it feels completely free yet because of some of the ways that I work and just generally unweaving of patterns and reliances and all of these things. When you gear any form of creation off of this energy that you are focused on creating what you love, what excites you, anything that brings you joy, that's the energy that's going to sustain you. And that's the energy where you will eventually build freedom because not only are you free doing it because you love it, but you're also feeling free because eventually your energy is just going to stay in it. Like my energy is just stuck in it. I've wanted to give up, but I keep going because I have a longer term focus. It's not short term. The first bucket is a short term focus. That is almost always going to flop over. So why do it? It is a waste of energy. I wasted my energy for the first couple of years on this business because I was in this. Like, I have to get this quick. You got to park that. If you want a long lasting side hustle, turn to business, to become free, to do what you want to do, to live the life you want to love, it's a long term game. The messaging out in the market feels very quick, like, oh, everyone can do a side hustle, do an online business. Yeah, but if you don't want to burn yourself to the ground and create exactly what you're trying to get away from, then it's best to go the slow route and build it long term and actually work out what you truly want to create and move from there. Because I would argue that freedom as the main goal is also not enough to sustain the energy. Most of us are going to eventually start looking for a deeper meaning with how we spend our time, which typically tends to do with service, community, people, giving, connecting. All of these things are we're going to want to be drawn into that. So, yeah, before you consider starting up something, just consider where your motivations are. Is it, if you can't actually identify what you love and that energy of genuinely wanting to create, and you can only feel the other bucket of, well, I don't want this and I don't want this, spend some time. You need reflection on what actually is going to fulfill you, give you joy. It doesn't need to be this massive self-discovery. The more you can do, the better, because you become more attuned with where you feel fulfilled and where you don't, and what you just want to create and do for the sake of doing it. If you are only able to come up with answers from this first bucket of, oh, I don't want that, I don't want that. But if you want to waste your time, go for it. If you don't, just pause. That's what I would say to you. Because if you keep running that way, so I feel trapped, I want freedom, you can bet your bottom dollar you're going down a pathway where you're going to probably feel maybe more trapped, burnt out. You'll probably run out of energy at some point, and there'll be nothing to fuel it because it's just purely run out of escape, not joy, not heart at all. So spend time getting clear on what you truly desire. What lights you up? What fuels you? What do you do without anyone asking you to do? Where do you get genuine joy from? I absolutely love architecture. I even randomly got invited by a Balinese to contribute into his projects because I was part of this like retreat. He came up and I'm asking him questions about the design. He's like, oh, are you into this? I'm like, I'm not qualified. I just love it. I would lean into that. When I was a child, I used to sit there and draw houses on graphic paper. A friend of mine works in healthcare, but she is a singer-songwriter. She loves it. It is her avenue for expression, for healing. She's just recently started launching her own music and recording and fully leaning into that because it is just passion. It is creativity. This is the energy that is going to sustain you long term. The most successful people don't run first. They wait for the momentum to align to what they really want to go to, and then they move. And they actually end up going further than those that keep running too quick. So you've got short-term focus. I need money. I need to get out of this. I feel trapped. Longer term, I'm here to build a fulfilling life, a happy life, a life that I gradually over time step into my mission, which will start as a side hustle. And the choice is yours, whichever one you want to create. I guess just really reflect before you do it, because I don't want you to waste time building something that is just going to end up feeling exactly the same as what you've already got.